be honest, okay? How much of your taste is actually about what smells good to you, and how much is it about distancing yourself from people who you don't want to be mistaken for?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me. I would have to say that my taste is personal. Now, I've covered this many times already, even recently, and the bias of actually what is your personal taste, what is not, the how much you're influenced by other people. The reality is that I don't really try to distance myself from other people. It's more like I want to be I don't want to be unique, but in a way, I do pursue uniqueness. The time and investment that I put into a hobby like this, I feel that needs to be shown, like to be very, very honest. I need to have some sort of a showcase for it. All right, like I'm spending, let's say, just again, it's not official numbers, but let's just say I'm spending 3 hours a day on this, thinking about it, working on it, recording videos, whatever, whatever. Right. Where are those 3 hours going? I have to showcase it through a bottle of Zoologist T-Rex, That's what I'm saying. You kind of like graduate to that point. Now, joking aside, I actually do like the fragrances. I don't just own them or buy them because I'm a show off or anything like that. I do like them. The real question is, do I want to smell like everyone else with my Zoologist T-Rex? Obviously not. But also, would I be concerned about smelling like anyone else wearing something more designerish? I don't know, something more like entry-level niche. That is a more interesting question, in my opinion. Obviously, I do live in a place where fragrances are really not that common. So, objectively, even if I were to wear something like Bleu de Chanel, I would be pretty much the only one smelling like anything, to be honest. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
we live in the common space. We live in the global space, in the internet. So
Sure. So then, following on from that, what is a fragrance that I guess you like or really, really like that you maybe feel too embarrassed to admit?
actually, not many. Recently, I've been having this thing with the brand of Soradora. I don't know if you know the brand. So yeah, actually,
Yeah.
you know the brand because you've sampled a few of them, actually quite a lot of them.
Yes, that's right.
So I do like those fragrances. I do appreciate what they are. And I do feel a little bit embarrassed by liking the brand because it feels like super entry level. It really feels like one of those brands designed to make money, very much surface level. And yeah, that is a brand that, although somehow, don't ask me how, I ended up with like 7 fragrances, I'm kind of like reluctant to show them off.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So then, is it a taste thing or is it something else? Like, is it is it taste that determines that notion?
So first of all, it's not necessarily about the fragrance profile. It's not about the scent profile.
Right.
I am not embarrassed about wearing any of those in public because they do smell good
Sure.
and they smell expensive in a way. They smell kind of refined. I mean, they smell unusual enough that it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It's more about the brand identity. It's more about my association with a concept, with an idea. And the brand of Soradora is based on, I don't know, this very commercial wannabe storyteller thing. And I don't know, I just feel above that. I feel that I'm into true narration, like more
Yeah.
intentional narration, more intentional passion. And yeah, that's more about it.
Okay. So would you recommend that then to beginners then? Or is it again, like you said, it's a narrative thing, which seems to be a little bit different as most people would judge on based on what the thing smells like. But you looking into the story behind it.
Let's just say that it's not one of those brands that I would necessarily recommend, period. I would only recommend it if you're the type of person that can look past this stuff or you simply don't care about them. So, for example, if you're a fragrance user focused on utility, performance, and overall smelling good, Sorador is a great brand to get into because you really don't care about who's behind the brand, the person, the stories, etc. It doesn't matter to you. But if you're the type of person that cannot look past that, if you wear fragrances because they're tied to a certain type of identity, there's like the Creed person, there's the Amouage person, and there's the vintage person, etc. Well, Sordora will definitely not be for you. So I do admit that they are interesting, that they're well done, that they perform well, but as a brand itself, I just don't connect with it.
Okay. So there's different ways of, I guess, ranking things. Is ranking things unavoidable?
Good question. Good question. So I would think that, yes, it is unavoidable in the sense that in order to prefer something, you have to rank it, right, in your head. Like there's no getting around it. Even if you're like looking at two items of clothing, actually, in your wardrobe, you're like, which one do I like more? You are ranking them. You're deciding which one is better for you, right? And you're prioritizing one over the other. And obviously, if someone were to ask you, hey, between those two items of clothing that you have, I'm interested in buying both, which one would you recommend? You'd probably recommend the one that you like the most. So it is inevitable to rank stuff.
Okay. Does that have a negative consequence in that as you accumulate more of these things, that you can't love them all in the same way? Does it dilute the love for them as you accumulate more of them? Because I feel like they're not children, and hopefully you're not treating them like children. But to me, when my first daughter was born, I was like, how can I love something more than this? Until my second daughter was born, and I thought, okay, I get it. So, but like with fragrances, is it a matter of the more there are, then the less love you have to spread around?
To a degree, I don't think it's that conscious of a thing. It's more like the more fragrances you have, the more you start looking at the bigger picture. Obviously, the bigger picture of you having a bigger collection. So you kind of look at it at a group. You look at the fragrances as a group, not necessarily as individual things, right? So, for example, I don't even think about my Amouage fragrances individually anymore. I have so many. I have over 30. I'm like, the Amouage fragrances. They represent a thing, right? And obviously, yes, the less time you spend with each item, the more you are detached from that item. You might have opinions, but they're more and more, not necessarily surface level, but they're not connecting to your real life experiences. So I had this experience recently. I've been to Oman and I've worn Amouage Search for 10 days in a row. Every day. I sprayed it on in the morning, a lot of it. And recently I went back to it. I mean, I've been wearing it a lot recently, and it's incredible because that experience, that forcing of the wearing through Oman, which was very positive for me, basically permanently tied that fragrance to Oman. And that is way more meaningful to me than the other Amouage fragrances that I have. Again, in Oman, I also bought Diaman, potentially regarded as a superior fragrance. But I just don't like it as much because it doesn't represent that.
It doesn't represent the experience.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not connected to it.
And so then in your collection, when you look at it as a whole, do you see one monoblock slab, or do you see a progression?
I see it as a monoblock, like the whole collection, that is kind of like morphing and just evolving, rather.
Do you get rid of some as you go on?
100%. I try to get rid of as much as I can. It's been actually kind of difficult because I purchase a lot, and I purchase stuff which is actually kind of difficult to give away because it's fairly unknown. Because I have to be that hipster person. So getting rid of some artisanal fragrances is not really that easy, especially if you want to get anything back from your purchase, which is relevant, unless you have this network of people that are willing to grab stuff off you. So yes, I do think of it as an evolving thing. And let's say my shelf system, if I look at it from afar, it represents my state in fragrances.
Sure.
And I do think it might be a question, it might be going forward, but I do think that it's a better, more evolved, more refined state than it was before.
And do you think we outgrow fragrances, or perhaps maybe a better way of putting it, do we outgrow as being seen as the kind of people who would wear them?
Um, I'm not really sure if outgrowing is the right term. I think that, so let me ask you this. I don't know if you're into wine or anything like that, or if you're or if you're a connoisseur of anything like coffee, wine, whatever.
I
But
used
if
to I used to own and operate a bottle shop. So
really, okay.
yeah, with
So
high
in
end
that
wines.
case, specifically for wine, do you outgrow like basic wines? Because I feel that it's more or less the same thing. I mean, fragrances is olfactory, the olfactory sense is very much tied to like the taste sense, right?
Yep.
So I think it behaves in a similar way. You don't really, I mean, I don't really outgrow a cheeseburger. I still love cheeseburgers, you know? Maybe I might be a little bit more picky about which cheeseburger I want to eat. But the
Sure.
cheeseburger is amazing. I still want a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily one to, again, keeping on to the food train, to ever be interested in going towards that nouvelle cuisine sort of thing, that like Michelin star dining, where you get like
Gotcha.
10 rounds of like miniature portions.
Mhm.
I'm not into that. But maybe you could also say, well, you're not into that as someone wearing Zerj of Naxos is not into the artisanal fragrances from Thailand. From Thailand. So I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. And you mentioned Naxos there, which I think you would classify as entry level niche. Is that correct?
I classify the whole brand of Sergio as really representative of the entry level niche. They try to branch out a little bit in towards, they try to branch out a little bit to tailor to, I don't know, more refined taste, but I think that they really focus on the entry level niche aspect. Naxos per se is an entry level niche fragrance, but mostly because it's known to be that. It's kind of like it's guilty of its own success, I guess, you know?
Sure.
It's a
And
product
many
of its own
people,
success.
and with that, many people have tried to define this whole niche versus not niche or mass appealing, because it's a lot of people say it's niche versus designer. I've previously attempted my best at trying to make an argument for it's either niche or it's mass appealing, because that's true to the nature of what the word means. What's your take on that whole space?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm totally with you. I mean, designers don't even like entry level niche, mass appealing niche is on the same level as designers. Not necessarily quality wise or price wise or anything like that. This is regardless of price, regardless of quality. It's about like who the fragrance is trying to appeal to. The definition of the designer per se is so dumb. It's just so. I mean, you can't really. It's boxed. It's boxed in by the fact that the brand makes other stuff than fragrances, which is I don't know. I just don't agree with that. It's very, very limiting.
Yeah, it's kind of irrelevant. I think in the take that I did, I said that fragrance houses should not be labeled with that, but it actually should be the individual fragrance that should be labeled as either niche or mass appealing, and that the same fragrance can be both at different points in time.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a single fragrance. Again, each house can have different stuff, right? If you
Yeah.
take, for example, stuff like État Libre d'Orange, which is a brand that I really like, they have some incredibly niche stuff, which borderlines on just art pieces,
Yep.
not even necessarily meant to be worn, and stuff which is designed to be worn, to be appreciated, to be liked.
And with those ones that are art pieces, or let's say more obscure, because those art pieces, because a lot of people would buy fragrances for functional use. Obviously, they're not going to use them as like talking pieces. What is, I guess, your most loved obscure fragrance that nobody in the world would know or hardly anyone in the world would be wearing?
You mean to wear or to own or as a concept? Because it's completely different.
Mm.
Some stuff I have I really, really love, but I
Hmm.
never wear it just because it stinks, simply. And I don't even regard them as fragrances. Case in point, again, going back to the Libero d'Orange, I own
Mm.
Secretion Magnifique. I think it's a
Oh,
brilliant fragrance. It's a brilliant, not, sorry, let me back up. I think it's a
yeah,
brilliant art piece.
sure.
It's not even meant to be a fragrance. I'm super happy to own it, and I think it's, again, it's amazing. And I praise
Mm.
it for what it is. I would not change anything about it. Would I
Yeah,
want to wear that? No, it stinks. It's really foul. It puts me in discomfort, which
yeah.
might be the whole point of the thing itself. As far as wearability goes, I think that the most weird stuff might be. I guess it really depends on culture. I mean, I like incense a lot,
Hmm.
and some incense is mostly unwearable for certain people because they tag it to the religious thing, right? They tag it to church, and they do
Yeah,
not want to smell like that. So wearing stuff like products by Filippo Sorcinelli, which are
very
considered
heavy
like
on.
on paper, you would consider them, I mean, uber niche. I mean, what the hell even is uber niche? That
Mm.
stuff there is very particular. I find it very enjoyable, very relaxing. I feel that it
Hmm.
suits my person. And yeah, possibly that kind of stuff there. I do like the zoologist fragrances because of their artsiness. But again, I like them as a concept more than I like wearing them, if
Sure,
that makes sense.
that makes sense. And if, for example, something you value, I know you love the zoologist stuff. Let's say T Rex. You like T Rex, right?
Yeah.
What if everybody started loving T Rex and started wearing it? You were smelling it everywhere. What would
I feel
happen to
that
your perspective on T Rex?
the thing about zoologists is that I feel that T Rex is actually really loved in the sense that if you know about zoologists, if you
Mm.
got that far, chances are you're going to probably love T Rex for what it is.
Mm.
So it is loved. It's the most popular zoologist, together with
But
bee and together with
mm.
other ones. I mean, my favorite zoologists are the more popular zoologists. So I'm not
Hmm.
trying to be niche within the niche. You know, I'm not being
Sure.
like, actually, you know what? The more popular zoologists are crap. I like the one that you never heard of. No, I'm not that. I recognize good perfume or good products, and they're
Mm.
popular for a reason. If everyone was around smelling like T Rex, well, first of all, it would be an interesting world. But also,
I mean, let's just say like T Rex became the next Aventus. And you had the guys with like, the neck tattoos and the bum bags at the gym, sort of all smelling like T Rex when they do their bicep curls.
again, it's really hilarious to think about because the fragrance is very strange.
Hmm.
So, given
Stranger things have
that,
happened.
yeah, given that circumstance, I would think that, yeah, I'd probably want to wear something different. I do like coming across as different. I mean, even growing up, I was like a metalhead. And
Hmm.
even by definition, like, sure, you might be into metal music, but going forth and wearing all black and wearing earrings and chains around your neck, that is a form of being different, of wanting to be different, you know?
Hmm.
And I've been like that all my life. I've always been the hipster of the situation. I mean, even when I got into cycling, when I moved to Switzerland and I moved to the south part of Switzerland, the Italian part, cycling there is not niche at all. I wasn't being different by going cycling. Actually, it's super
Mm.
popular. It's possibly the capital of the world. But
Sure.
I did go different because I purchased voluntarily a bright pink bike because I wanted to almost make fun of the fact that everyone was so cycling in a try hard way. So I had a hot pink bike. So I
Cool.
guess that's part of my personality.
Do you have like a little bell? Ring, ring, like this.
No, no, it was actually it was hilarious because it's a super high end top spec racing bike, road bike, but it's hot
Yeah.
pink.
Cool. Okay. That's one way of standing out within So I guess it's just standing out. You're not sort of going against the grain because you're doing the thing that everybody else does, but you're doing it in a way that needs to be differentiated, I guess. But why did you do that though?
Because I don't like, and this is again common with pretty much all of the things that I'm into. I don't like try hard elitism. I really despise it. I'm actually all about bringing people in. That is one of the reasons why in the past I used to teach photography. I just love teaching because I love sharing. And by buying a hot pink bike, I was basically making fun of everyone else going full try hard mode, having the same exact looking thing, the same kit with the fake sponsors. It was just so lame to me. So I was like,
sponsors.
Yeah. People do that. They actually buy. I mean, even as a kid, well, I grew up with we're more or less the same age, I think.
We are?
Are we? I don't know. But I grew up in I'm 42.
All right.
But I grew up in a time where when I was a kid, growing up and almost getting your driver's license, everyone had the hot hatch, like the sporty hot hatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people were really into like having again, not the fake sponsors, but they were adamant about showcasing like sponsors about stuff like brands, right? Oh, there's this brand of like exhaust or filters or whatever. And you would just like put that on the window, right? Again, it's like I grew up with the car culture that was kind of like skyrocketed by Fast and Furious.
Okay.
So cars full of stickers and stuff.
Yeah.
And that also reflects in the cycling world. But again, I'm not against that sort of thing. If you do it consciously, if you do it because you know what you're doing and that is actually what you like, I'm totally cool with it. But if you're in that grade zone of like the try hardness while still being elitist, that really bugs me.
Sure. And it's some might say that that's just having standards.
I'm a person of principle, so yes, I guess so.
Yeah. And so at what point does having standards turn into building walls?
Great point. I mean, my principles will force me into limiting myself. I will limit my own enjoyment to pursue a principle. That is stuff that I've done, even work-wise. For example, just resigning out of principle. I've done that. And who am I harming? Well, in my head, I'm like teaching a lesson to the company. But after like a week, they don't really give a shit.
Of course.
I'm just harming myself. I lost my job, but I've done that. So
just Jerry Maguire someplace. Did you
exactly.
Like, who's coming with me?
Exactly. But in the same way, fragrances, if I really love something and it's tagged to a certain type of perspective that I don't agree with, I'll probably move on. I'll be like, all right, so long.
Cool. Would you consider your sense of, I guess, your taste in fragrances as a sign of refinement, or you're just hard to please?
I think that, let me think about this. So, refinement, yes, in the sense that as I mentioned before, I look at the whole shelf system as one evolving, refining thing. So to a degree, I do feel that I keep learning. And by learning, you are more aware of what you like, what you want, and you start refining the thing, right? You're just polishing that stone. On the other hand, I'm also hard to please because I've been having to increasingly accept the fact that the products that I want just don't exist. And this is across the board. It was, again, in cycling, like the perfect bike. I just wanted the one bike to do it all. It just doesn't exist. There's always a compromise. In photography, same thing, camera. The perfect camera to suit my needs just doesn't exist. And in fragrances, I don't really have needs. I'm more of a spectator. I'm more of an appreciator of what's being put out as an opinion. But objectively, if I were to design my ideal fragrance, it probably doesn't even exist. It's not out there. So I am extremely hard to please. Also because I don't want to design it myself. I want someone to design it for me, not asking me questions, backed up by their full passion and individuality. So again, I'm like setting unrealistic standards. So yes, I am extremely hard to please.
Okay. Okay. Extremely hard to please, or do you just tolerate less as you go on?
I mean, like, I think that realistically fragrances are just unnecessary, right? So I
Sure.
wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't categorize that as tolerating anything. Like, are we even tolerating? Like, seriously? It's like, this is like first world problems 101. No, I would not categorize it as tolerating. I would just categorize it as selecting, just being more selective about the stuff that I spend my time on or resources. Again, time,
Mm.
money, whatever.
Okay. And first world problems are important or not to you?
It depends on your problems. I mean, if you get to having first world problems, yes, they're important. I think that humans need to have problems per se. They need to solve stuff. You're going to always have a problem. And I think that being aware of that, just being accepting of having the problem and having the urge to just refine, again, better your situation, furtherly optimize your current status is fine. It's human. It's great. I do like it. If that revolves around not first world problems because you have a leaking roof, well, that doesn't make it less of an important or a problem or more important. It's just a different problem. I don't have that problem, thankfully. Again, I'm very appreciative and grateful, but now I'm focused on which fragrances sit on my shelf and how.
Great. All right. I'm thinking about where this conversation is heading. It's really
Yeah.
all been about, like taste and discernment.
Yeah. I just want to back up a sec. Just tell me your general opinion about, again, I would say all of this, but we've covered a lot. So,
Yeah.
what is your opinion about just the refinement of a taste and discernment and just growing into a hobby like that?
Growing into a hobby.
Graduate from stuff.
Yeah. The more I step into it, the more I think that it's a performance, whether you like it or not. And it's most of the time done subconsciously. So this has come from a saying that I used to think about quite a lot, which is, if all the world's a stage, that one, if all the world's a stage and all the people are merely players, that's where it sort of ends for most people. But I ask the question, if all the world's a stage and all the people are merely players, then who's watching the show? We're still performing, but for what audience? That's my take on that whole thing. Is that this whole thing is a performance, and we're doing it whether we like it or not. I think our genetics sort of compel us because of maladaption, largely maladaption to the current environment. A lot of people say that we are ancient hardware trying to run cutting edge software, so.
But so you think that everything is a performance? So you think that it's not genuine?
Well, I didn't say it's not genuine, but yeah, it's probably not maybe it's not the best word to describe it, because if the opposite of performance is if the one of the connotations of performing something is being not genuine, then that's not what I meant. It can be genuine, like a performance can be genuine, but it's still a performance. It's for an audience.
But so you can't perform to yourself?
Well, you can indeed.
Because I
Or
mean,
is it a performance if it's, yeah, so that's the other thing, right?
because I just want to say that obviously, well, yes, I have a YouTube channel and I talk about fragrances, etc. But maybe I would not be as invested in terms of resources, again, time and money spent on the place, on the hobby, but I would still take it just as seriously, even if it was completely behind closed doors. And I would still have the exact same approach because that's just how I am. So I don't necessarily feel that it's a performance per se. Sometimes, yes, obviously I might seek out something like a new release because I think that it might gather views in a sense, right? But apart from those special occasions, I mean, I cover stuff that is genuinely interesting to me. I don't try to be weird. I literally filmed a video yesterday of 2 fragrances by the brand of Marlot. Do you know that?
Which one?
Marlot.
Marlou. I don't think I've heard of that one.
Okay, so it's a brand that has like 6 fragrances and they're all very animalic, very musky. So it's like the definition of like ultra niche, right? But I got the first one in a blind trade and I loved it. And I pursued the second one from the same person. She was like, I had to convince her to trade it to me.
Yeah.
And that video, I filmed it, and it's a super long video. I had to literally cut it down to like 30 plus minutes. And I know that it's not going to perform the greatest because it's not many people know about the brand. Case in point, you didn't know about the brand and you're pretty invested. But at the same time, I didn't film it to showcase how special I am about these weird fragrances or about my special taste. I filmed it because I genuinely like the fragrances. And I don't feel that as performative per se. I do try to alternate publishing videos which might be a little bit more interesting or mass appealing or gather a little bit more views to stuff which is more niche. I have the theory about feeding the audience alternatively their vegetables and a spoonful of sugar, right? To just keep them guessing. But at the same time, again, when I do feature the niche stuff, I'm conscious about the sacrifice. Actually, if it was more performative, I would not go there. It's not worth my time, not worth the resource investment. Not only gathering this stuff, but also just filming a super long video about something that very few people will even pursue and look at.
Do you feel that you would have to dress it up more or make it a little bit more entertaining because it is super niche and not a lot of people would know about it?
Look, I don't know what entertaining means at this point because everyone is entertained by different stuff. When I started my YouTube channel, I started a channel that I wanted to watch, the type of channel I wanted to watch, with super long videos that go into personal stories, etc.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I was in pursuit of like viewership per se, I wouldn't even be into niche fragrances. I wouldn't do a YouTube channel on niche fragrances. It's just like a dead end. It's a dead end thing. The audience is literally limited.
Yeah.
And you can see it as you grow, you'll get less and less growth because it's just limited. There's not enough people out there to enjoy the thing on the level that I like it. Specifically when you put out videos which are 30 plus minutes long. Not many people are willing to just sit through that. And I might be proud of a specific segment which is at minute 17, but who the hell's going to get it? Like, who's going to go to minute 17, you know? So, I mean, I'm proud of what I put out just because to me it represents an effort. Again, going back to what I said in the beginning, I'm investing a lot of time in this. I'm investing a lot of resources, pursuing the fragrances, purchasing them, talking about them, wearing them, giving them time. And that kind of like gives me the liberty or the reassurance that I can just move on to something else. So it's all for myself. I'm very, very selfish in a very self-aware way.
So do you know what, like you said, you're moving on to something else. I'm assuming that something else is a different topic away from fragrances altogether.
You know what? I am addicted to learning stuff. I just like learning new things, especially when there's like this immense amount of information available. And when you learn stuff, there's obviously something called a learning curve, and some learning curves are linear, some are exponential, and some are logarithmic. I like the learning curves which are logarithmic
Okay.
in the sense that it's stuff that it's fairly easy to get into, but it requires a lot of time to actually make any significant progress.
Sure.
And photography is one of those things. Fragrances is also one of those things. There's no real end in the learning of fragrances, but at some point you get to a stage where your time investment has severe diminishing returns. Is it even worth going there? I mean, I might just keep it on the back of my stove there, just boiling away, simmering, but I might not invest 100% of my time in it anymore, just because it's not worth it.
And seldomly often, I note is not Daniel's fragrance reviews.
Because I always thought that those names are super try hard. I hated it. That is my way of that is the hot pink bike.
Yeah.
But also, it's because to a degree I have issues with commitment to an idea. So boxing my channel into a name which was tied to fragrances was a little bit too much of a commitment. I was like, if I want to change, if I want to slowly migrate to something else, I can with a different name. And then, yes, you can change your name, but I don't know. I don't want to be known as like Johnny's Fragrances.
Gotcha. And what does that mean? Seldomly often.
It means, well, it doesn't really mean anything, but it actually is referring to the fact that I do tend to change my interests fairly often, and I go deep into each interest. So again, my commitment to each thing might be a little bit unpredictable. Sometimes it's like cycling. Again, I got into cycling and I went from 0 to basically running, not necessarily competition level, but I was entering races, like amateur races locally, in about a year. Knowing everything about everything, building my own box, doing everything. So, and then I hit a wall. I was like, all right, if I need to pursue this, I literally need to go pro. I even moved to the mountains, which is a completely different situation in which just everything is uphill, so it sucks. Yeah. And, but yeah, I went all in for a shortish amount of time. I still have that information. It's there in my backpack, but I can pull it out at any time. But again, I go in and out. I dip in and out of stuff like that. I just go maniac and obsessive about something, like fragrances.
I can see that. And is it my imagination, or does the theta have anything to do with it?
No, it has nothing to do with it at all. That logo is actually an S overlaid to an O.
Okay. So yeah, because I thought it kind of looks like a theta.
It does. It does. Yeah. But what do you tie it to?
I don't know. That's what I was asking.
No.
I couldn't figure it out.
No. I figured.
Like,
I thought.
Is he into mathematics? I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, I graduated university with theoretical mathematics, so.
Okay.
But no. There's no tie to the Greek letter at all.
Okay. Sure.
And that's why I asked. I thought that you knew something that I didn't.
No, I didn't. I graduated as an engineer, so I did a lot of differential calculus when I was a lot younger. That's all behind me now, and I'm an IT person full time.
Yeah, same.
Okay, cool. Let me give you one more. Discernment, right? How well we judge things, or our taste, right? If that concerns loving something deeply, and let's say snobbery is about rejecting things loudly, right? Which one do you think the fragrance world needs more, and why?
So first of all, I think that discernment can be on many levels. Discernment is not like a threshold. You can be discerning at a very basic level, as long as you know what you want and what you like. Snobbery is basically the opposite of discernment, in my opinion. It's like snobbery is not accepting that you might change your mind. It's not accepting of new things. It's not accepting of new ideas and concepts. Discernment is based on that. It's taking in information in order to make a decision, to have proper judgment on something. And snobbery is, I guess it's a level of discernment where you think you've reached the plateau of like intake of information. So now you are able to make all the decisions. I like to stay in the learning phase at all times. Snobbery is also, in a way, as I mentioned before, it is kind of inevitable in the sense that your taste evolves. And at some point, you are categorizing based on stereotypes. We tend to categorize everything. And stereotyping is a thing. It just exists. And stereotypes exist because there's a truth to them. So if there's a dude that looks like a Chad walking around wearing a Ventus, I might have an idea. That is a form of snobbery, in a sense.
Yeah.
I have no idea if the guy truly loves Aventus, if it was his dad's fragrance, if it was, I don't know. I have none of that information. But I have to,
since
but I just exactly. But I just assume this dude is a simpleton, right? Again, no offense to Aventus wearers.
Hey, I've got 3 bottles of it in the back here. Yeah. But yeah, okay, that's good enough. And with that, what is the scent of the day, of the moment, if there is one?
The scent of the moment. Well, actually,
the one you're wearing.
It's the scent of last night, basically, because the stuff that I like, some of the stuff that I like, never really goes away. This might be a whole other topic of conversation, but yeah, I'm being more and more wary of fragrances that have like a 12-hour wear. They're so fatiguing. I like wearing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And especially stuff that leaves this like residue on you, which does not go well with other fragrances. It's super annoying. So anyway, yesterday I wore an Amouage, and I wore Amouage Purpose 50, which is basically a synthetic nuclear bomb. And it just it binds to your molecules. It never goes away. Yeah.
This is part of your DNA now. That's it.
Yeah, I can only layer it. At this point, it is layering, but I can only layer it with other like incense stuff to kind of like blend and blur the lines, but I just cannot shift to like citruses. It just doesn't fit.
Exactly.
And I'm going to have to take the next 2 showers to get rid of it. So
I think you're right. I still have like a tiny little bit, and I think that's enough for me for the rest of my life. That's why I never actually invested in a full bottle. And it's funny to hear you say that and have such a large collection of Amouages, which are known to be very, very highly performing and very long lasting.
Yes, but a lot of them are actually, the way they fade off is linear enough that at some point they become irrelevant to the next fragrance, right? And some stuff just sticks around, like Purpose 50, like Silver Oud, like which I know you don't like, but
King Blue. Actually, the other day I wore.
But King Blue has a great wear experience. It just kind of fades off. It lasts a super long time, but it fades off and it kind of like leaves no trace. And some other stuff just sticks around.
Yeah, Beach Hut Man is another really, really strong one for me. Like if it gets anywhere on my clothes, it won't come off my clothes.
Really?
Yeah, it's like maybe the bottle I've got, I'm down to the last 20 mils and it's just immense. So,
but yeah, that one there specifically, for example, I tend to be able to wear, and the very dry end of that, I find it way more compatible with something else that I want to wear on top of it, For example, the remnants of something like Silver Oud that are incompatible with anything except for Silver Oud. You're going to always smell Silver Oud. I cannot be like waking up this next morning and be like, oh, I want a nice freshie on this. It's just going to smell like Silver Oud.
You're almost playing fragrance Tetris in a way.
I need to think ahead. That's why I don't wear certain things nearly enough. That I love, by the way. Purpose 50 is okay. I do like it, but I would wear it more if it wasn't for the stupid longevity, which is really annoying.
maybe an eau de cologne version.
I want a linear wear experience. Just fades off gradually. I hate fragrances that overstay their welcome. I just don't like wearing that stuff.
Interesting. Good. All right, Daniel, thank you very much for joining me on my first chat ever. I'm calling this series, if it turns out to be a series, Digressions, as it's fitting, because conversations can go anywhere and we just digress. And we have a certain theme or something to get through. That's fine. I think we went a bit everywhere as well. And that was pretty cool. But I think we stayed on topic quite well. I wanted to say something like, where would people find you if they wanted to find you? But I'm pretty sure everyone who's watching my channel is very well aware of your channel. But even so, I will still, I'll leave the link to your channel in the description. And yeah, thanks again. I appreciate you joining me. Fantastic to talk to, because you do all the talking, and it's always better when you do it.
I mean, you're only asking questions, so I'm happy to oblige. But isn't it funny that at this point, I mean, look, this might be, again, a whole other conversation. You know how people say that the fragrance community is dead, et cetera, et cetera. I see so many cool people to talk about, which have like smaller channels. And funnily enough, again, going back to that audience issue, the limited audience issue, everyone watches the same stuff. I just see the same faces in your comments. Everyone's just watching the same stuff.
That's right. That's right. And that's, look, I think I touched on a prior video where, and I've done this before, where originality is not what people want. It's too far of a departure. It's unfamiliar. You just want remixes of remixes. You want slightly different, but still familiar enough to feel like it's not either hurting your ego or it's not so unfamiliar to you that it's something you can't relate with. So that's the thing. Like one guy, I don't know if you know about Rory Sutherland. He's someone I've been watching for like well over a decade. And he tells the story about when he was younger in the 80s and he had a mobile phone, and you'd think that a technology would come around, such as a mobile phone. It's a phone you carry in your hand. You can communicate with anybody at any time and be on the go. You'd think that would be revolutionary and everybody would be running to the shops to buy it. But there was actually backlash against it. And, you were seen as like a wanker or a ponce, if you had one of these in your hand walking around taking a call. People would yell abuse at you because you're a snob, something like that. Like, people have certain mental shortcuts that they take when they see something like that and they see somebody using it. And so it took a long time until the majority sort of started to adapt this technology. And in hindsight, people think, oh, yeah, mobile phones were invented and everybody had one because everybody's got one now. But it took a long time. And so that thing of a departure from, even though that was a phone and this is a phone, it was still a departure from what people thought was a phone. And maybe there was like some kind of social stigma attached to it as well. Again, that sort of jump that people need to take takes a long time. So maybe in about another 10 years' time, if we're still at it, if we're still alive, this type of content would be the most popular type of content there is out there, But at the moment,
what do you mean by this type of content?
As in genuine conversation about niche topics.
Yes. Okay. Because you said that people like repetition. I think that we do stuff differently than most of the fragrance space. At least we try to promote different. No? Like different type of perspective, a little bit more thoughtful.
I love your videos where you're out and you're just freewheeling, like freestyling. You're not in front of the camera with like a blank wall with a different hue of light behind you. And I know you can talk, but when you're not talking about the physical dimensions of a fragrance and the wear and feel, but you're talking about how this particular scent links you to some part of the universe in a profound way. That's the kind of shit that gravitates to me. Like, that's the kind of shit that I like. And I might be a very niche audience for that, but I'm very appreciative of that. So I think it's sort of shifting a little bit more as we get more and more granular about people's micro groups, micro tribes, that we get away from channels that have huge followings, because that's just like your McDonald's of things. And, you know, like you said, you still love cheeseburgers. People still want to have, you know, content like this, but they want better, higher quality ingredients, or, you know, they like that particular thing. So I think that's what could be a shift, you know, with this type of content, is smaller channels doing specifically what you want them to do in the way that you want them to do it, but it's a more engaged audience, that you're not sort of there in the background. People are actually having a genuine conversation with you, even in the comments, and that's great. And I think that's the kind of connection that we should be utilizing. We should be using technology to do that, rather than having like a team that manages your social media, for example, because you've got thousands of comments and you can't really reply to all of them, or even you have like your own AI twin that does all of your comment handling, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what it's going towards. And I think having the perspective of, so I lived in Japan for a few years, and there is no other place that I have been to around the world that has that level of granularity when it comes to people's hobbies. And that is purely because there's a thing where people die from overwork. They got a word for it, right? And so the government, everybody gets leave, everybody gets annual leave, but everyone's either too afraid to take it, or when they do ask for it, the boss says no. And so they're like, okay, well, I guess I can't get leave. I have to work. And you can't leave the office before your boss leaves the office. And when they leave the office, you have to go to drinks afterwards. And so it's like a 14-hour day. You barely get anything done because it's really unproductive. And so the government said, okay, well, we realize this, so we're going to mandate it by giving people extra public holidays. And so on these extra public holidays, you can pursue your hobby. So then everybody had to have a hobby. So because everybody had to have a hobby, all these niche hobbies were born. Some people said, oh, learning English is my hobby. Some people do, I don't know, molecular alchemy as their hobby on their public holidays. Yes, but everybody has this really, really, some people collect like train tickets from the 1970s. You know, that's their hobby. It's really, really, really segmented. But they're devout, and they're committed, and they put a lot of time into it, and they're the experts in the field. So in the same way as that's happened there, I think that might sort of shift towards, I really hope it does. I'm saying this from like a thing of hope, in that I hope that it shifts towards something like that, because I really feel that it's more genuine. And to the people that, you know, saw the internet back in the 90s as a way for people to communicate and connect to each other that they couldn't before, before the, you know, social media enshittified itself, is that we use this sort of medium and this technology, which is amazing. Like, you're halfway across the world. I'm in the, what Jerry Seinfeld called the anus of the world in Melbourne, right? So, and we're having this conversation in real time and in high definition, and it's being recorded. We're going to then upload it, etc. And it's amazing if you think about it. And we should be using it to make sort of genuine connections like this, because, you know, our eyes are really easy to be fooled. And as far as I know, you're in front of me. You're hearing me. You're listening to me. I'm listening to you. So I'm fooled. I mean, the only thing is you're not here, so I can't give you a high five. But that's basically it, right? So we should be using the technology for this purpose. And I think smaller channels with more devout followings in niche sort of areas is where we head towards. That's my long and short.
Yeah, but actually going back to that, so as I said before, I'm into hobbies. Well, I actually hate the word hobby, but anyway, I'm into stuff which has this logarithmic learning curve, right? But also because one of my missions is to get people to go past the phase where you get a lot of benefits. Invest the time, you know? I know it sounds super lame and it actually sounds kind of try hard, but I'm actually a strong proponent of delayed gratification.
Oh, yeah.
In the sense that just spend time learning something. Even if you get something back later, it's worth it. It's worth the effort. It's worth about learning how that effort pays off. And again, fragrances, it's super easy to jump into. Just buy a fragrance, spray it on, and like, hey, it smells good.
Yeah.
But going beyond that, being devout and investing a lot of time for that minuscule return is something not a lot of people are willing to do. And I strongly encourage it. Again, not necessarily in fragrance. You can do it in whatever you want, but it's that sort of like return, which is important, that people need to really understand. And it goes basically opposed to the self-serving culture that we're in right now, which I really hate. On that note, I just want to conclude with something that I think is fun that you might want to adopt or not. I mean, you can just ignore it. Okay, even edit it out if you want. But I took a cue from this podcast called Diary of a CEO.
Oh, yeah, I've seen him.
And the guest always leaves a question for the next person. So my question for the next person that you will be interviewing, and again, you feel free to make a video out of it yourself, is why do people watch videos of fragrances that they own? I mean, I know why. Obviously, it's based on like confirmation bias, right? But isn't it interesting? I think that could be an interesting topic to explore.
It definitely is an interesting topic to explore. Yeah, this is something I was actually noticed last week. I was like, oh, I've got that one. I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Half of my comments are from people that say, I love it. Yeah, I have it. It's great. Thank you for covering it. Thank you for talking about it. Like,
yeah. Confirming thank you for confirming what I'm smelling.
Again, in a way, it's super hilarious, but in another way, it really gives me hope because it's beyond information seeking. It's about nuance. It's about maybe subjectivity, if I want to be very optimistic.
Yeah, maybe priming.
Anyway.
I didn't smell that before, but now I smell it. Yeah, that's it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. That was good. That was really good. I enjoyed that. And hopefully I'll have another guest that will agree to do this.
Yeah, super fun. Look, if you don't have any other guests, I'm willing to come back on.
Oh, yeah. Just continuously keep talking to you. Yeah. I don't mind. All right, cool. Thank you. And as always, everybody, thanks for watching. Keep watching. We'll try and do our best to keep being watched.